The rapid spread of the COVID-19 virus was getting everyone on edge. The rest of the world's population was overwhelmed by the news of millions of people that had been infected and perished worldwide. Mr. Nell was enjoying his holiday at home with his family.
Breaking news, our Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has announced a nationwide restrictive movement order (MCO) to deal with the spike in COVID-19 cases with immediate effect starting from 12 a.m. today.
Upon watching the regular news at 8 p.m., he was alarmed by the coronavirus's outrageous global spread. Due to the rapid breakout, the government had to enact a movement control order to break the COVID-19 chain. The hashtag Stay Home was actively promoted by the media.
All of a sudden, Mr. Nell was reminded about the school situation. He was concerned about how his pupils would learn after the enforcement of the MCO, which required all working sectors, including schools, to be closed for safety measures.
The school had a meeting regarding the implementation of PDPR. Mr. Nell and his colleagues were sitting in a meeting room to discuss the best approaches that they could implement in order to meet their pupil needs during the MCO. Mr. Nell voiced his concern about using technology to carry out online teaching as the internet connection in his school area was very poor. He preferred to stick to his old teaching method with the help of teaching aids. Mr. Nell was having a bit of difficulties in adapting to the latest wave of teaching during the implementation of the home-based learning. He was pushed by the situation to use technology instead of his usual and traditional teaching methods. Due to the limited internet coverage in their area, Mr. Nell and his colleagues agreed to use learning modules to reinforce pupils' learning at home.
Despite the time allocated for the pupils to hand in the homework, a handful of pupils could not complete tasks. Some pupils struggled to understand the module's instructions or contents to the point where they lost interest in finishing them. Most parents also complained that they were too busy at work to assist their children with the tasks given. As a result, they were unable to turn in the modules to school in the allotted time. Mr. Nell was greatly concerned about his pupils' academic performance throughout the pandemic. Mr. Nell never gave up on his pupils and did everything he could to ensure they finished the task, even with all the hurdles he faced. He even texted their parents to remind them to keep an eye on their children at home so they could complete the task on time.
It took almost a year since the home-based learning was implemented when the government finally announced that the school would reopen. Every school was to adhere to the safety procedures and regulations to prevent the spread of COVID-19 inside and outside the classroom. When Mr. Nell heard the news, he was overjoyed. He was excited to speak and interact with his pupils in person since he could easily monitor their progress and facilitate group discussions. His mind was overflowing with fun and exciting ideas he could do with his pupils. The well-being of his pupils was a top priority for Mr. Nell. Before pupils could enter the building, Mr. Nell took their temperatures and gave a short briefing explaining COVID-19 and all the related safety rules that the pupils had to follow. As the homeroom teacher of Year 3, he constantly reminded his pupils to wash their hands regularly, wear face masks, and keep their distance.
Although Mr. Nell was pleased to be back at school, most of his pupils were not. More often than not, they were absent-minded during class. Pupils seemed torn between several emotions. Some just wanted to get home, while others appeared excited and confused. Some skipped school because their parents were still worried about keeping the children safe during the outbreak. Mr. Nell also found it challenging to conduct fun learning activities that would require pupils to interact close to each other. This would somehow go against the rules and safety protocol, which state that pupils should keep their distance from one another. Also, as a father of 2 young children and a husband to a pregnant wife, Mr. Nell experienced increased anxiety and worried about interacting with other people in the school. The idea of him contracting the virus would also put his family in danger.
The majority of teachers use ICT as their primary platform for teaching and learning during the pandemic. When the school reopened, the use of technology in teaching and learning process was still strongly emphasized. For Mr. Nell, though that was not the case, he viewed ICT as only a tool to aid teachers in the classroom. He upheld his belief that educators could still deliver enjoyable and engaging lessons with little or no ICT integration. Regardless of these significant shifts, he was grateful to have more time to spend with his family. He also learned to be more mindful of his health and to adjust to the new social norms of wearing a mask and keeping his distance from other people. He gained comfort in valuing important individuals in his life.
He came to a realization that maintaining composure and regularly reflecting on one's action to make improvements is crucial. Even as an experienced teacher, he constantly strives to improve himself. He had great expectations for young educators to serve as the light and a beacon of hope for future generations. They only need to believe in themselves and their abilities to change the lives of their pupils.